Welcome to another episode of the Lazy Boy Chronicles. I'll be back home on Sunday. Um, I've lived most of my life by the motto that I came up with, that nothing true is popular, and nothing popular is true. Everything that most of humanity is focused on cannot be, by definition, important or ultimately valuable. And you and I both know what humanity is focused upon. What's the last time you heard somebody use the word wisdom, much less in an appellative context? Like, oh, meh, there's nothing in this world better than wisdom. You haven't, have you? Okay, just admit it. When's the last time you heard somebody use that? When, better yet, when did you ever hear your teacher in high school or college or any school use the word wisdom? You bet you never did. I know not a single teacher throughout my life, and they're all horrible, used the word wisdom. I knew these people were fools right from the outset, and of course I was right, and that's why I did all my own investigations into the nature of things very, very early on. My teachers they're just unintelligent, and what's that word go? The old saying says, "Those who can't teach." Anyway, something that nobody mentions or fails to recognize, and all forms of monistic metaphysics are exactly the same in this, and that is that there is no distinction, not referring to the existential or empirical self. There is absolutely zero distinction between wisdom and the ontological self, or the soul, or the spiritus sanctum, or the nous. It doesn't matter what term you want to give it. Nothing is known except through the modality of the knower. In other words, wisdom's ultimate goal is self-reflexivity. And by self, of course, I'm talking about self with a big S, i.e. the soul. The self and the true self and wisdom are one and the same thing. It's the self that seeks itself, which is the path of wisdom, and also, too, the goal of wisdom. Wisdom's ultimate goal is disobjectification. Wisdom, by definition, and we don't know the true etymology of the word wisdom, and we can say sophos, which is discernment in reference to like tasting something, which is nonlinear and non-discursive understanding. There's no thought mechanism as an analogy when you taste something salty that, hey, this is salty. Your mind doesn't think about this. It immediately recognizes it as a type of subliminal discernment. And wisdom is that. Intelligence is facts and constructed data. Wisdom, of course, is true comprehension. The locus of intelligence is, of course, the empirical consciousness, or in the ancient Pali, Vijnana. In my radio analogy, it would be the radio and the broadcast would be the locus of intelligence or empirical knowledge, i.e. episteme. The locus of gnosis or wisdom is the nous, or the mind, unaffected by death or trauma. In this case, the radio analogy would be the signal. Say the smartest person in the world, his head is full of a bunch of useless empirical facts. They get in a car wreck or something, they have head trauma. Yep, all those facts are gone. Wisdom is unaffected by trauma or affected by death. That's why wisdom is of paramount importance. No form of metaphysics speaks about the greatness of episteme or empirical knowledge. That is, however, conducive to leading one on the path of wisdom, but it is not an appellation of Greek or Indian monistic metaphysics at all. The quest for filling your head with empirical facts, and it's more so today than ever, and I'm not applauding being stupid. I'm certainly not doing that, but I mean, all the, simple empirical facts we could get on our Android or iPhone. I mean, you know that, and I know that. So, say the root word is sophos, is discernment, but we don't know the true etymology of the word wisdom. Truth or wisdom is, of course, always pointed at the absolute, and the absolute, of course, is indiscernible from the self. In the absolute sense, it is the individuation of the absolute, which is never individuated. Individuation, of course, is due to the extrinsic attribute of the absolute, which, of course, is agnosis, which is, of course, the primordial condition. There is no prima causa or original sin in monistic metaphysics, like there is in all forms of creationistic religions, and I'm not interested in discussing religions, but this notion of original sin is not present within monistic metaphysics, the intelligent variety, vis-a-vis the Greeks and the Indians, both Advaita Vedanta, original, and I use the word importantly, original Buddhism, for example. And people just don't use this word anymore. They're not interested in seeking after wisdom. It's just filling our head with facts. Go home and memorize chapters 5 through 10. We'll have a multiple guest test tomorrow. It's just, what we're doing is we're breeding a bunch of intellectual buffoons whose head is stuffed with useless information. 99% of it is useless. That doesn't give somebody insight into anything. Wisdom is knowing and discerning the nature of things, specifically cosmic mechanics, the nature of the universe, which of course is in the microcosmic sense in reference to oneself, and discerning that which causes suffering, stress, false identity. That is the most important thing in the world, but none of us are taught that stuff in school or college. That's the most important thing in the world. It's the most important thing in the universe. Also, too, nobody can say wisdom is not the most important thing. Is that magical thing about the word wisdom is that anybody and everybody will contradict themselves if they were to say that wisdom is not the most important, because they've just defeated themselves. That wisdom is not the most important. Money is, or, big house, or... You cannot contradict that. It is completely impossible. It goes against the very definition of the term wisdom, which is the utmost, the summum bonum. There is nothing higher than wisdom. People say, well, the transcendence is important, not wisdom. What do you think wisdom's ultimate goal is? Of course, it is transcendence. And transcendence is disobjectification, separating out the false from the true discernment. Making a metaphor, or making a simplex analogy about the nature of wisdom, we could talk about gold extraction and gold purification. There is no such thing as gold purification. Gold is gold is gold is gold, right? And people say, well, we're going to purify the gold. Anytime someone makes reference to purifying gold, they're talking about extraction. There is no such nonsense in hardcore monistic metaphysics as purifying the soul or the self. It is just like gold. Gold, just like my radio analogy, is pretty perfect. It's extraction. Nothing purifies gold. Gold is gold is gold. There's no such thing as gold purification. Isn't gold always gold? Yes, but it has to be extracted from the... That's right, extraction. That is all transcendence is. That is discernment from the false from the true. That is wisdom's ultimate goal, the summum bonum of the path of seeking and growing in wisdom is transcendence. What did you think wisdom was? Anyway, thanks so much for watching. This is another episode of the Lazy Boy Chronicles. Sitting in this Lazy Boy that came with this house back when I bought it in 2010, take that back, excuse me. You get older, you kind of forget times. Goodbye.